Okay, I've got some decisions to make here. I just looked at my plan that I showed you when I drew my design up on the computer. And these are some of the critical dimensions I pulled off. 6 inches wide was from the outside edge here to this outside edge. And then maintaining that flare, the dimension down here at the bottom was 13.5. And I just took a quick rough dimension of that. And that's about what I have, is 13.5. I'm a hair over. But that, doesn't mean I have everything set up perfectly. So anyway, what I'm looking at here is which way do I want to make it easy? Because I have to put a cap on this. Do I want that to be an easy 6? Or do I want the inside to be easy? And my thought is I can always sneak up on the outside easier than making this 6 and trying to figure this out. So I'm going to make this inside 4 3/8 it looks like. That'll give me about 6. So 4 3/8 by 48. That dimension's not going to change. Or actually it is, because you want it to be 48 to the outside here. So I'm going to have to figure that out as well. So 4 3/8 tapered at 25 degrees, and then cut the length at 25. So if I make it 48, I can cut it back to what I need. Then I can figure out these wedges that I want to put in here, along with my panels. And incidentally, then this is the dimension here of 55.5 is the long dimension from corner to corner. So I'm not really too concerned about that just yet, but that's where I am right now. Everything looks good. I did, I look at this and it's kind of mind-boggling, but it is square here to this edge. So when I put my panel in and I put these other I guess I'll call them stiles, or no, rails, I'm sorry, but these would be rails. If I put these rails in, these will be cut at what should be 25 degrees. And then I'll be able to butt them right up. Let me grab that piece that I had here. Yeah, there it is. So this is 25 degrees. Let's see that. I mean, that's awful close. I guess it is. That's a little bit off. But I'll work on that once I get to that point. But the nice thing is that it's going to be a 90-degree cut to the surface. So that'll be easy to do. The hard part, I think, is done, cutting these corners. And the next thing I want to do is get a piece in the middle there so I can turn everything over and have something to work off of. So I'm going to cut a piece of plywood, 4 3/8 by 48, taper the sides to 25 degrees, and then see what it looks like. I set my table saw up to cut a bevel at 25 degrees. So I took this piece and beveled it on 2 edges, here and here. And when I brought it up to my corner and look at it, looks good on top, but I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm a little open down here on the bottom. So I took another piece and cut it at 26. And when I bring that one in, this just pretty much disappears. So you can see on both sides here. Hope you can see it anyway. Let me see if I can bring this up to the camera in a way that you can see it. So there it is. Nice and flush. I gotta make sure I'm pushing tight inside. So that's what I'm aiming for. I'll end up going 26, and I end up nice and tight along all the edges. So then I can use that as my building block to work off of. So I'm going to cut my inside cut here needs to be 4 3/8 beveled out to whatever length. So I want to, when I do this, like so, and the other piece comes in here, this measurement on the inside corner to the inside corner is 4 3/8, or close enough to that anyway. So let me rip my piece that I'm going to keep and use, or bevel it, I should say. I've already ripped it. I'm going to bevel it and make sure I end up with these dimensions, and then we'll go from there. I got my board cut and dimensioned. It ended up being just a little bit over 4 3/8. Let's see what I actually ended up with here. About 4 7/16, but I'm not gonna mess around with that. So I've got it blocked up here, and you can see that when I put my pieces up here, it's just a little bit low. I've got a little bit of a reveal right here, but that's okay. I can deal with that. What I want to find out is where I'm going to be at with this piece in here and this piece down here. So I'm going to work on the short end first, and then do the long ends after. This will be a good place to start. If I make any mistakes, there'll be short pieces instead of long ones. So I'm going to take some dimensions here, add a little bit, because I'm going to expand ever so slightly here when this comes up, and then see what happens if I can maybe kind of piece this thing together. So my intention is to put in a piece here and here, put a dado in there so I can drop a panel in. And then, alright, here's what happens when you're working with angles. I had I'm going to flip this way. I was measuring my cut marks with my piece jacked up off the tabletop like that. Effectively what that does is shorten my piece. So I made my cuts, my angle cuts, then I put my bevel cut on there. Now I've lowered my piece, and you can see what's happening here. It's short. Okay, so what I'm going to do, because I have some flexibility with this top, remember that this was a little bit large. I wanted this to be 4 3/8, and it ended up being about 4 1/2, I believe here. Yeah, 4 1/2. So I can shrink this a little bit it's going to be a little bit more than I want. It's going to be about 1/4 of an inch, but I still have my pieces that I can work with here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to modify my piece of plywood there and go with this. So you can see that this is the look I'm going for, but I was going for the width up on top. So that's what happens in woodworking. You know, I'm kind of designing this on the fly. I know what I want to do, and I'm going to get there, but it's just going to be a little bit different than what I anticipated. So lesson learned there is this bevel angle should have been cut first, and then lay it on here and make my marks, which obviously I didn't do. So I do have 2 of these now, 2 of these pieces that are identical. My next mission is to now get 2 pieces up here that are identical, but at the same time maintaining this relationship on the bottom. So if I roll this over, put everything on the flats like so, I should be able to get fairly accurate marks now for this piece up here. And I've already got, let's see, I've already got, this is for the opposite end. I've already got this piece cut here. It's going to lay in like that. So I'm going to trim it along. I'll make my marks, play around with it until I get exactly the fit I'm looking for. Then I'll have something I can work off of here with these 2 frames. I'll be able to, like I say, make my dados in here, cut a panel, and I'll be good to go with that. So it's come along. I like the look I'm going for here, and like I say, I'm kind of designing this by the seat of my pants as I go along here, but it's gonna work out. This is about as careful as I can be with this. I've got the back clamped down. You can see here, this caul is putting pressure on this side. It's got some resistance, but this side has none. So I have to be a little bit careful, but let me just zoom in here, and this is how I'm going to try and make this cut. So there's my opening, and when I take my metric ruler here, what I end up with is about 19 millimeters. Let me get a little better perspective on this. Hang on. Yeah, 19. Maybe 19 and a half. We're going to call it 19, yeah. 19 millimeters. Try it this one. This one's got the full millimeter. $19. Making sure I'm tight. All right. So I've got my bevel gauge set to this angle. Let me back this out here a little bit. Got my bevel gauge set to that angle. And then when I reverse it, I made my mark here, 19, and drew my line. So that piece should now fit in there like that. So I'm going to cut it and see where I'm at. I'm actually going to cut, I'm going to leave the line. I want to be a little strong, and if need be, I'll hand plane this back to get this to fit. But I'm going to want to make two of these. I want them to be identical, one for each end. So let me make that cut and I'll be right back. Alright, after a couple attempts, I've got what I want. I actually cut this piece a little narrow so that it protrudes past these two pieces. So when I slide it up in there, and I've got to be careful because I don't have anything clamped, you can see that it just wants to go past the top there. Right there. And I can clean that up with a block plane. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to try this other one in here once too. That one's a little different. I've got three of them. I don't know which one I've got. Now that's the one that goes with this set here. I'm going to put some marks on these so I keep them together. Then what I'm going to end up doing, because these faces are at 90 degrees to each other, I got to quit playing around with this. It just gets, oh, there, that's what I was looking for right there. I'll be able to put a dowel in here so that when I glue and clamp this together, it won't move around on me. So let me, I'm going to put the other set together and see how those fit. But that's the look I'm going for. I don't mind that this is going to end up a little high. There. Like I say, I can trim that with a block plane and nobody's going to notice that. Okay, there's trouble in River City here. And when I was going to do just some final checks, I should have done this before. I brought in a straight edge here for the bottom. And what happened was when I checked the top with my pieces that I showed you in the previous shot here, this was not parallel. So that's why I brought the ruler in. So when I put my bottom piece in and I slide my piece up, you can see I'm open. When I bring the other piece in, I'm also open. There. Now the good news is, if there is any good news, this dimension up here is like 4.5 or more than that. I gotta get a dimensional ruler here. So this measures, like 4 and 5/8. Yeah, 4 and 5/8. The dimension on my plywood top is 4 and 3/8. So I should be able to recut these at the proper angle, get this set up correctly, and then cut these new pieces up here. These will never work. They're way too small now. Goes this way. Not to mention they're at the wrong angle as well. So let me get my adjustable miter gauge on here. Or yeah, my adjustable miter So putting my adjustable bevel square on here and finding this angle. That's what I want to set my saw to. So I'm going to readjust my miter saw, trim these back, this is going to be the opposite way now, but that's okay. So I've got to take more off of the when I set these on my saw, I've got to take more off the long side. So let me readjust and we'll recut and we'll be back. Now we're parallel. This edge and this edge the way it should be. And now my measurement, inside measurement, is 4 3/8. So luckily I was able to save those. Oops, I lost one back there. Luckily I was able to save these pieces. These on the other hand are going to be way too small and not at the correct angle. So I need to cut new upper pieces. I think I'm going to have to make new stock for that, but that's okay. So I want to put the other one together and make sure I have the same measurement here. Let me do that now here. Keep those three paired up. I guess the one thing I can change too is, I never realized that, I can move these around. Well, let's put this in here. That's nice. And see where we're at here. This one's just a hair over 4 3/8. Not much. I mean, a 64th, if that. So that's good. I like that a lot better. I'm going to put some marks on these, rearrange them and mark them here inside so I keep them mated up. And then go to work on these other pieces. So these will be my twos, and the other one will be ones. Okay, let me recut some stock for these. Then I'll take my measurements and we'll make those, and I'll come back and show you the results. I got dowels in these joints only, and got it pulled tight together this way. And now with the dowels in there, there's no slipping or moving. So when I bring this up, I mean, I have a nice fit there, but again, I'm a little proud here, which is fine. I can plane that off with a block plane. But what I'm concerned about is putting a dowel in here. I think that all I'm going to do with this joint is just glue it. So what I've done here is made marks here, 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 and here. And so when I run my dados, I know where to stop. So, actually I just have to go just past that line. I've got to go to probably about here. These won't matter. These will be all the way through on these two pieces, but on the side pieces, I've got to go past the lines. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this one apart, put the other one together, make the same marks, run my dados, and then figure out what I'm going to use for my panels. I think I'm just going to use cherry plywood. I think this thing is all going to be just solid cherry with just some minor decorations of hard maple to pick up on the dots that are used for registrate, lining up your shots in pool. And also I used the same type of deal when I was putting together my stools with dowels and then also on my shuffleboard table. So that'll kind of tie everything together. So let me get the other one put together and make my marks, and then we'll come back. You've seen me use this jig before, and the thing that you do with this is that you have check marks here. Check mark here and a check mark there. So you want to line up your two edges. So my check marks are on the bottom and the front face. So when I line this up though, generally what you would do, oops, gotta go this way, there. So a check mark here and a check mark there. You'd line it up to a square face this way here. But I don't have one. I've just got this angle. So I have to use the two corners that these pieces meet at. And I just have to be real careful to get that lined up. And if anything, I want to err this way, this direction here. So this, I'd say that's pretty good. Actually, maybe I do want to come this way just a little bit more yet. It's tricky. Okay, right there. So what I do is I'm gonna drill these two holes. If I drill this one, I would pop out the bottom. And if I can use this one, but it's real close. I did it on the first one, but it's real close to that line. So these two work out just about perfect. Okay. Now, with the mating piece here, make sure I have the right one, yep. Now my check mark is on this side, and nope, I've got the wrong one. No, I don't either. Check mark, check mark. I guess I didn't mark the bottom of these. So the check mark would be here on this side. I did mark this one, but not this one. Yeah, that is correct. Okay, so with this one, check mark here, check mark there. Now I've got to line it up using the opposite, making this point flush with the outside here. So I just kind of snug these up just a little bit. Make sure I'm down flush. And then I'm looking at that point right there. And that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to tighten this up. Yeah, that looks good. Now I'll skip this outside hole and drill these two. So let me do that, and I'll come back in a second. Okay, so I'll throw a dowel in here. Another one here. And there you go. Nice joint. And that'll keep things from sliding around on me. Do the same thing on this side, and then I can make my marks and get ready to run the dados on this one.